Okay, so one last thing I want to show you here basically is just, we talked yesterday, if you were going to use that Olympus, how you would need to, that Olympus handheld recorder, how you would need to sync your audio with your camera audio. Then to basically delete your camera audio and just use your sync audio. Or the audio from your Olympus, because it's better quality. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So the first thing we need to do, I'm just going to leave this here. I have my mask sequence. I'm just going to make another sequence by clicking the new item and holding it, and then choosing sequence. So ARRI is kind of a movie, that's a high-end movie camera. Essentially what we need for our sequence to set the frames per second correctly and the format correctly is the digital SLR. That's what we're shooting at. And we're shooting at 1080p, which is high definition, and we're shooting at 30 frames per second, which is broadcast quality. 24 frames per second is more cinematic or film quality. We're shooting at 30 frames per second. I'm gonna hit OK. And so now I have a new sequence here. I'm gonna rename that. I just clicked on the name, and then that allows you to rename it. I'm gonna call it sync. There we go. And then I am going to import the tracks I need to sync. So let me see if I can find these real quick. Okay, interviews. All right, there's one track I need. I'm going to import that. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull that out onto my timeline. There we go. And then I'm going to grab the audio. So you can see I shot a bunch of interviews here, and then I also recorded the audio and I put it in a separate folder. And this is Alyssa Wygant. I'm going to grab the audio, and here you can see my audio track, and I'm just going to pull it in just by grabbing it and put it right here in audio track 2. So now essentially I want to sync my audio. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, audio track 1 and audio track 2. So I can take a quick look at them and see if I can line up the waveforms. That's essentially what you're doing here. And then you can see now I'm zooming in. So the first thing I got to do is just get an idea where this starts and where my audio track starts. So.
Okay. Yeah, Alyssa Wygant, senior graphic communication major, studio art minor.
So we're getting some there. Let's see what else we got.
Alyssa Wygant, senior graphic communication major.
So I'm going to mute that channel and then see if I can find that same audio on the second channel here.
Yeah, Alyssa Wygant, senior graphic communication major.
Okay, so there they kind of, there's where she's starting, where that picks up. So I'm going to unmute that. So I can see I need to pull this up a little bit. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here. And maybe even tighter. And let's see where this is.
Give me your name,
Okay. Yeah, Alyssa Wygant.
So I can see that's where that's where this track starts, and I can see I have a peak here which might be similar to this peak. So I'm just gonna line them up and see what happens.
Yeah, okay. Alyssa Wygant. Yeah. Alyssa Wygant.
So you can tell it's just a little bit off. So I'm gonna zoom in a little tighter. And maybe I'll pull this track even a little more this way.
Okay. Alyssa Wygant. Yeah. Alyssa Wygant.
Okay, so I'm gonna just solo this one real quick.
Give me your name,
Okay. Yeah, Alyssa Wygant.
So Alyssa starts right there. And maybe, actually,
Alyssa Wygant.
I gotta take my solo off to see how we're doing now.
Okay. Yeah. Alyssa Wygant. Senior graphic.
So I'm getting closer.
Yeah. Alyssa.
Okay, so this peak here, she says yeah. And this peak here, she says yeah. So I wanna line up those two peaks. Oops, went a little too far, and now let's give it a listen.
Yeah. Alyssa Wygant.
So you can see I'm close because now I'm getting an echo effect. So I need to zoom in a little tighter and move that bottom track a little bit closer. And if you see as I zoom in tighter, you can see it's off. So I'm gonna drag it just a little bit more. And that should be really...
Alyssa Wygant, senior graphic communication major, studio art minor.
So now you can see I'm on the money. So I'm going to zoom back out. And what I want to do, now that I know I have my good audio track here, I'm essentially going to unlink these from each other. So what happens with a movie clip is and an audio clip from your camera, they link together. So I want to delete that audio track from the camera. So I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to right click or control click, and I'm going to choose unlink. And that will unlink these files. So now that I can delete that file. So I just hit delete, it's gone. And now I want to move my main audio track, my good audio track up. So I'm going to hold the Option key down and then hit the up arrow, which then puts it in exactly the same place. And now if I play it, it should still be synced.
ALYSSAWIGANT. Yeah.
So perfect. Now you notice too, I have a stereo track here, so I'm just fine. I could also adjust the gain a little bit if I wanted to. This right here, I could turn, basically this is turning the volume up by decibels. I could turn it up 3 dB if I wanted to. Remember, we're trying to keep things somewhere in the 6 to 12 dB. If we start to see we're hitting that 0, we want to pull it back down. So basically, that's a quick way on how you would sync your audio and basically importing your footage and what was the other thing we did? So on the mask thing, so we imported our footage and made it a stereo audio track. And so essentially I have two sequences here now. I have a mask sequence and a sync sequence. And so a lot of times you'll have multiple sequences because you'll maybe want to, you'll have different edits. You might edit it one way and edit it another way. But that's one way you could go about making more sequences.